So it seems that something has been found in terms of an SR weapon coming out of the woodworks of being an absolute godsend, and that in particular what I'm talking about is the Venom Fang, purely because of the bleed effect that this weaponry finds. Now, as you guys can see, I've barely done anything with this weapon. It's level 20, got 3 dupes on it. That's it. So that's all I've managed to accomplish with this weapon. I've not, I mean, as you guys can see, if I want to, I can level it up, I can do more with it, make it a little bit more stronger. Now, the reason why I mention all of this is because, oh sorry, the power of destruction, you know, this is a boss fight which you can do on a daily basis, and the rewards themselves are pretty decent at most, especially with the dust that you can get through this, and then of course these crystals. At a later time you'll be able to start crafting weapons, so as time goes on things can build up in your favor in terms of getting but the resources and the materials and whatnot, right? And plus this dragon fight itself, I'll be honest, isn't too difficult realistically. And so something has happened in terms of boss fights not having immunities, and if a boss doesn't have any immunities, oh, it's going to be an absolute bad time for them. And that is exactly what has happened. The power of destruction boss doesn't have immunity to bleed. Most bosses do have immunity, so to have a boss come out with no safety barrier, as I like to say, then it's pretty much a GG. And so what has everyone found out is that running this weapon just because of bleed really gives you an absurd amount of points. Like, you can hit 30 mil, 40 mil. So with all that being said, I decided to find it out myself, and I kept my dagger as is. I was like, surely the bleed isn't that effective. Lo and behold, was I wrong. So when I did my first run, I hit around about 25 mil, and I was just like, oh, what? Excuse me? Is this real? Huh? My dagger was still at level 20 at like 3 dupes. I was like, okay, this is... let me not register this, my first attempt, and let me really do it with my level 80 weapons. Did that, 12 mil, and I'm just like, holy the bleed is broken. When it comes to boss with timed events, stuff like that, bleed is just super OP broken. And imagine if I had, and keep in mind, you've got Igris who can also apply bleed. If I had hunters that could have also applied bleed, oh, we would have just piled it on. It would have been insane. So then I was like, right, let me just, you know, get a good score, and I was like, this will do. So unfortunately, I didn't register my highest score, but I just went, screw it, I'll just do whatever I can. But they are updating it to where bosses will have, or certain bosses, power instruction in particular, will have bleed immunity. They've realized how broken it is in terms of you know what, no, I'll take it back. I feel like with bosses where it's timed events, so for example like the power of destruction, I feel like that's fair. Having immunity for that's fair. I feel like for like gear bosses and whatnot, I feel like that should open up to say that we can apply that. There has to be some balancing going on here in terms of, okay, for the score bosses, it actually makes sense because that's a little bit too OP. But for just in general bosses, I feel like that should open up for us to go absolutely crazy on them and just apply everything that we want to apply, you know? I think they should do that and look into that. With all that being said, so what has happened is that there is going to be a fix happening where, first of all, error pops up displayed while claiming the ranking reward in Battlefield of Time. That is annoying, so thankfully they are fixing that. Here it is. Bleeding immunity status effect will be applied to certain boss monsters. They've realized it. For power of destruction content starting from the next season, the bleeding immunity effect will be applied to boss monsters. So yeah, they're starting to see how overpowering it can be. And it's an SR weapon, and for the most part, not many people want to invest the resources, because as of right now, with where solo leveling is, you have to be very... well, you have to manage your resources and gold wisely in terms of people focusing more on the higher rarity weapon, which kind of makes sense. We'll see what happens. I'm curious to see on what other bosses will have the immunity effect. I do feel like with score bosses, fair enough, do as you please, get those immunities going, but I feel like just in general, they should leave them as is. I believe, because I did an Igris run and he was not getting any, like, I wasn't getting any bleed deal buffs on him, so I don't know. I feel like they should really look into maybe making it so that those bosses we can kind of utilize anything to everything for, you know? So that's something to take note of. Now, with all that being said, as I've said, I've been looking at hunters. Now, the only hunter that I know of that has bleed is Kang himself, and it is on his ultimate. So, not exactly the best when I'm trying to apply it in a consistent manner. Yeah, so it's on for 30 seconds, of course, and this is the most I can get out of bleed when it comes to characters, as yeah, it's nowhere else to be found. But we got a bit of a tip-off of an upcoming SSR character, Beast Yoonho, of course. We got a brief understanding on this character, so I thought I might as well kind of mention it, you know. So, skills, Slaughter skill 1, Violent Approach skill 2, Extreme Attack Beast Form is his ultimate, Magic Beast Claw is the core, and then Magic Beast Instinct. Okay, I presume Deadly Claws is his weapon. Okay, so Magic Beast Claw, increase the damage of basic attack by a certain percentage. For each instance of bleed effect applied to the target, the maximum possible increase is a certain percentage. So as we have just spoken about how broken bleed can be, to have a hunter to benefit from that and to apply that, we might be onto something when it comes to Beast coming in, of being a very formidable character, I will say. And this is why I mentioned with like bosses, they should kind of be fair with it, you know. Like, I get it, as I've mentioned, score bosses, do what you gotta do, but when it comes to the remaining other bosses, it should be an open field for us to actually go crazy with, you know. Deadly Claws, which I believe was the presumed weapon, increases the damage of core attack according to the number of bleed effect instances applied to his target. Yoonho also recovers a small amount of HP. Magic Beast Claw all has its basic attack enhancement effect doubled. Okay, if that's his if that's his weapon, Christ Almighty, we're gonna have to craft that, because as it stands right now, we really don't know how to go about getting weapons for newer characters. Obviously, with Choi, it was free and we can build it. So if there is a banner for it, yeah, well, we're getting that definitely. All right, so Beast Yoonho increases his skill damage by 50% of his reduced HP ratio. He uses Violent Approach or Slaughter to apply the bleed effect to enemies inflicting continuous damage. So this is one thing which I was mentioning with hunters that we have right now. It's on their ultimate, whereas with Beast Yoonho, it's going to be on his skills. So we've got that consistency, and we can benefit from that, from the damage that we can then apply. Just for a character to have come across to apply bleed and to benefit to do more damage as a solo unit, I feel like his damage output is going to be somewhat ridiculous. And on top of that, the combinations and like the supports that we can apply to that too, there could be a lot for it, to be honest. We could technically pile on the DOT. Yeah, Anna's got decent poison going on. I mean, we can really, and then we got to think about burn. So I kind of want to do that. Just pile on the DOTs. That'd be pretty fun. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that could work. Continuing on, the damage of Magic Beast Claw and Slaughter increases when attacking bleeding targets. When he uses Extreme Speed Beast Form, he applies the Extreme Attack Beast Form effect to himself and receives a continuous damage equal to 8% of his current HP every 3 seconds. His damage taken increases by 50%, but he gains Super Armor, which increases his basic attack damage and attack speed by 30%. Oh, some more new... okay, so this is... Eye of Light, a chance to apply a critical hit increase rate. Okay. When she lands a core attack, and then that's all. Okay, so yeah, so right now we've just got an incomplete kit, but that's completely fine, because to get that brief paragraph of Beast's kit so far, yeah, no, he genuinely sounds like an absolute broken character in terms of bleeding, and now we've just seen how broken bleeding can be. Gotta specify that, because we don't know to what we can bleed now and to how lenient there will be in terms of immunity. But if we can benefit from the hunters themselves, including Beast himself, to apply bleed, and then to benefit from the damage output that he can actually dish out to do a lot more damage, he will be coming across as a high damage unit. And oh my god, and the bleed too, it's going to be on there so consistent too. I'm trying my best to try and maximize it too, because I'll be honest, after the Power of Destruction, I'm just like, right, this is going to be the way to cheese some of these bosses, to kind of, you know, whittle them down in terms of health, especially in the form of Run Junwoo as the main, to have a sub character to hopefully do damage and bleed. Yeah, imagine if he does bleed, break, and then obviously benefits from doing more damage from bleeding enemies. Oh, that is way too much. I understand that, but just imagine if that was the case once we got the full kit and like that was the change. At that point, must summon. 100% must summon. But yeah, boys, if you haven't, if you've got the mode unlocked, jump in there. Like I said, look, I mean, look, I'd ran in there with a level 20, and I've got half dupes. But you only need the weapon itself, because the bleed is on the initial. I mean, if you maximize it, if you max it out, then I mean, clearly you're gonna do a lot more. But as long as you got the weapon, just an initial copy of the weapon, go run it, get those bleed going, and then obviously with your second weapon, just try and get some damage going with it. A lot of people do combine the katana and the scythe together. So if you've got those two open, and use those.